Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Cassie and today I'm going to be sharing with you products that I am returning to Sephora. These are just things that did not work for me for one reason or another. I think they can work for some people if you have a different skin type or different preferences. Some of these I am returning just because I have alternatives that are complete full-on dupes or are just so similar that there's no point in keeping the more expensive one. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first thing that I'm going to be returning is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit. I did a full video comparing this to the Aesthetica Contour Kit. I'll put it up in the cards if you're interested in that. The Aesthetica one is a full-on dupe. I would show it to you, but this one is so janky and messed up. My daughter got into it and it's just all broken. The Aesthetica one, that is my holy grail contour kit. So for that reason, there's just no point in me keeping the Anastasia Beverly Hills one because this one is $40, the Aesthetica is $20. I'm going to always repurchase the Aesthetica, so I'm just going to go ahead and return this and get either in-store credit or get my money back. The next thing that I have is by NARS, and this is the blush duo with Orgasm and Hot Sand. Hot Sand is a highlighter. I got this because I wanted to compare the Orgasm blush to a couple of different blushes that I have, and I do have one to share with you that is a dupe and is much more affordable. I was also interested in trying Hot Sand. Kathleen Lights and Young Wild and Polished rave about this highlighter, but to me, I don't think it's anything that special. I'll go ahead and swatch it on my hand. My hands are really dry right now, so just excuse that. You can see, I mean, it's pretty, but for the price, it's just not worth it. I don't like shimmery blushes on my skin. I have too much texture and stuff, and it just really emphasizes that when I wear shimmery blushes. This is the Aesthetica blush in the shade Climax, and hopefully it shows on camera, but these are like the exact same thing pretty much. I would say that once you swatch them, they do pick up a little different in the swatches. On the face though, you cannot see a difference. The NARS is on top and the Aesthetica is on the bottom. Aesthetica pulls a little more coral where the NARS is more pink. If I did like the NARS Orgasm blush, I still would return this duo just because the Aesthetica is so close and completely undetectable as far as it looking different than Orgasm on the face, that there is no reason for me to keep such an expensive product when this is much more affordable and exactly the same. The next thing that I have that I'm returning that I also have a dupe for, I did a full video on this. This is the Benefit Hoola bronzer. I will put the video up in the cards that I did comparing this to the NYC bronzer and a couple other bronzers. The NYC is a full-on dupe and this bronzer isn't even $3, and the Hoola is like $30. This is the little mini one that I have, but this one is more affordable, but there's no reason for me to keep this bronzer when the NYC one is the exact same. You get more product. I actually like the formula better on the NYC one. They're actually both almost too dark for me when I'm not self-tan, so I'm just gonna go ahead and return that as well. The next thing that I have, I got this in a BoxyCharm, but I wanted to mention it just because you get it at Sephora, and I just wanted to throw my review in here really quick. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. This is their just generic foundation primer. I think it was the first in their primer line. They have a bunch now, like they have pore minimizing and color correcting and other different ones. This is just a plain old foundation primer. I really don't know how this would work for anyone. It's not going to work for dry skin because it's not going to hydrate. It's going to sit weird on your dry patches. It's going to make you get oily faster if you have oily skin. Like I said, it doesn't make your makeup last longer. It just literally does nothing. I've heard people say that this fills in their pores and their lines, but this does not fill in my pores at all. So this is the most useless primer that I've ever tried, and the full size is really expensive. This is the trial size. It's 0.5 fluid ounces instead of 1 fluid ounce, and this is still like $16 or $18, so I can't stand that. Just stay away from this primer. The next thing that I'm returning is the Too Cool for School Perfect Day Makeup Fixer. I was excited about the setting spray because it does have a like aerosol spray nozzle. I thought that was really cool and innovative and different, but this doesn't really do much for my skin. I do have oily combination skin, so I like setting sprays that are going to take away the powdery look, make my makeup look more natural, but also control my oils, and this does not do that for me. It actually makes me get oily faster, which I experienced that with a lot of setting sprays. I have one that is so good. This is the Roche-Posay Zero Zinc Toner and Setting Spray in one. This sets my makeup beautifully, and it also mattifies and controls my oils like crazy throughout the day. And this is only $15 for 5 fluid ounces. This was $20 or $30, I think, and you get not even 2 fluid ounces. So this, I think, could work for dry skin because it is kind of nice and hydrating. But for oily skin, I just wouldn't recommend it because it doesn't really do much. The next thing that I'm returning is the Sunday Riley U.F.O Ultra Clarifying Face Oil. This just does not not work for my skin. This is supposed to be good for oily, acne-prone skin, which is what I have. Unfortunately, it just made me break out. I tried it a couple months back when I first got it. I used it for quite some time to make sure my skin wasn't purging when I first used it, and I just continued to see my skin get worse and worse. I tried this again a couple weeks ago, made me break out again. I just think that my skin doesn't really respond well to salicylic acid, nor does it really respond well to facial oils. I think they're just too heavy for my skin, so I'm just gonna go ahead and return this. This was pretty expensive. It was almost $100, and it doesn't work for me. A lot of people rave about this, and if it does work for you, I think it's a pretty good deal. I used quite a bit of it, and you can't even tell really, so I think it would last a really long time. The next thing that I'm gonna return is this Shiseido Ibuki Smart Filtering Smoother. This is a primer, and this just doesn't do anything for me. When I first got it, like when you put it on your hand, it has like a powdery finish once it sets, and it kind of looks like you have a filter on, but when you put it on your face, it doesn't have really that same effect. This is supposed to control your oils, and it's supposed to smooth out the skin. It doesn't really smooth out the skin at all. Compared to some other primers that I have that are more affordable that actually do. It doesn't really control my oils like some other products that I have that do, so there's just really no reason for me to keep this. You don't even get 1 fluid ounce in here, you get 0.67 fluid ounces, and I think it was almost $30, so I don't know. It just doesn't really do much, so I am going to return it. I think I raved about that in a past video because it looked like I had a filter on my hand when I used it, but on the face it just doesn't have that effect. So sorry if I misled you guys when I talked about it in one of my previous videos. The next thing that I have is also from Shiseido. This is their Mattifying Moisturizer. This is not horrible. It moisturizes the skin really well without leaving it feeling greasy, which is what I look for in a moisturizer because of my oily skin. The problem with this is that it doesn't look good under makeup at all. It says on the box that it's a lightweight moisturizer with oil absorbing powder. Because it has that oil absorbing powder in it, it's not going to work well under liquid foundations. It would be just like putting a liquid over top of a powder. It's going to make any foundation you use look heavy and cakey, so I just can't make this work. I was going to use it as my nighttime moisturizer just because I have it, but I really like using creams or heavier moisturizers at night, so I'm just going to go ahead and return it. The next thing that I have that is horrible, that I do not recommend to anybody, is the Too Faced Prismatic highlighter in the shade Blinded by the Light. I did not try the other two shades that they have. I've heard Liv Loves Her Makeup say that the darkest shade that they have in this line is pretty good. She had all 3 shades. She did a full review on it. I'll link it down below if you're interested in checking it out. I heard a lot of mixed reviews on this, but I still wanted to try it because a lot of people were saying that it's more of a natural glow, and for that reason it's not worth the $30. They also said that it was pretty buildable, so I thought that it could be worth $30. Sometimes I like a more natural highlight that is going to be buildable, but this does not sit well on the skin. It doesn't look nice on the skin. It looks pretty in the swatch, but it just kind of sits on top of your skin. I really like my products to kind of like melt into my skin, especially my highlights. I can usually justify the price tag of items if there is something that I like about it, but there is nothing that I like about this highlighter. There are many other good ones that are on the market, so just avoid this one. The next thing that I'm going to be returning, actually I'll talk about both of these at the same time. These are both from Hourglass. This is their Ambient Lighting Powder in the shade Luminous Light. This is just their really like natural highlighter. This is so unbelievably natural, which I can get down with that sometimes, but this just has too much glitter in it for me. There's the swatch right there. It's pretty powdery as well, so I mean it's just not flattering on the face. Some people say they use this as a setting powder, but because of the glitter that's all in it, I don't see how that would work. The next thing is also from Hourglass, and this is their Ambient Lighting Bronzer in the shade Luminous Bronze Light. This used to be their lightest shade. They have 2 new shades now that I think are lighter than this. So if you have fair skin, those 2 shades will be good. I like the formula of this product, but this particular shade, when I am not self-tan, pulls pretty orange on me if I build it up too much, and I just have other bronzers that I like that are much more affordable. I talked about the CoverGirl bronzer in one of my recent videos. I'll put it up in the cards once I find it, and I'll link it down below. That formula is pretty similar, and the effect that it gives is pretty similar to this product, so I'm just going to go ahead and return it because it's too expensive for me. There's also a lot of glitter in this, which once again I don't like, so I'm just going to take that back. The next thing that I want to talk about isn't a bad product, but it just doesn't work for my skin type. This is the Tarte Filtered Light Setting Powder. I did a full review and video comparing this to the other Tarte loose powder, their Amazonian clay one, which is more for oily skin. That one is my holy grail. I'll put that video in the cards. Definitely check that out if you are interested in a cruelty-free loose setting powder option. This particular powder is more for dry skin. It is called their Filtered Light Setting Powder. It does kind of reflect light. It's also really nice and smoothing, which I like. It is yellow tinted. I talk about all of the pros and cons of this and the other powder, so just go check that video out so I don't make this super long. Overall, I like this. It smells like chocolate, which I like, but it just doesn't work well with my oily skin. The next couple things I have are also loose powders. I actually have 4 more. The first one is the Laura Mercier one. This is really good at controlling my oils, but it looks really heavy when I first apply it, and it continues to look heavy throughout the day. I have other powders like my Ilia one that sets the face beautifully, does not look heavy at all. It looks beautiful when you first apply it, and it really controls my oils just as well as the Laura Mercier one, and these are the same price. So I'm just going to keep my Ilia one, return the Laura Mercier. The next one I have is the Kat Von D Lock-It Translucent Setting Powder. This also is just really heavy when you first put it on. It controls my oils kind of nicely, not as good as the Ilia or Laura Mercier, but it's just so heavy that I cannot make it work for me. The next powder that I have is by the Sephora collection. This is their Smoothing Translucent Setting Powder. This definitely is smoothing, but it's just not as smoothing as like my Cinema Secrets, which is like my holy grail. This is the most beautiful powder if you want something that really will smooth out the skin and fill in all of your pores. The packaging is also not like super practical or convenient. There's just a little tiny hole that this little dingy thing like presses into, and you have to like shake it when it's not fully closed to get the powder out. I don't know. It just doesn't work very well, and the product is not that great, so I'm just gonna go ahead and return that as well. And then the last loose powder that I have is by Bare Minerals. This is their concealer in the shade Well Rested. Shannexo raves about this, but it just doesn't really sit well on my under eye. It kind of emphasizes all of my fine lines under there and makes my eyes look a little dry. And it also doesn't really brighten my under eye, which is obviously what I want. The next product that I have that I'm returning is the Cover FX Mattifying Primer with Anti-Acne Treatment. This has salicylic acid in it. I really only bought it since it says that it is mattifying. I've been testing this out against some of my other mattifying primers and products that I've been testing the last couple months, and I have just found that this is not mattifying at all. I really wouldn't recommend this to you at all if you are looking for something that is mattifying. The only person that I guess I could recommend this to is maybe someone who breaks out from every primer they've ever tried. Since this has salicylic acid in it and it's an anti-acne treatment, maybe this one wouldn't. Other than that, I don't really think this is going to work for anyone, especially if you're looking for something that is mattifying, since that does not mattify. Another thing I'm returning is by Hoola. This is their mineral sunscreen in the scent Cucumber. It has SPF 30. I did mention this in my best products for oily skin video, and the reason why I mentioned this in there is because this is a matte sunscreen, and I think it's going to work really well if you have severely oily skin, but keep in mind that if you have any dry patches at all, that this is not going to sit well on them, and that is why I am returning it. I do have a very oily T-zone, like I said, and sometimes the rest of my face gets very oily, but I have a lot of dry patches everywhere, and that's because of my texture, my breakouts. You know, I get those little flakes of skin on top of those breakouts, and this just sits kind of weird on top of them. Since it is a mineral sunscreen, you also have to work it in the skin quite a bit to get rid of that white cast. So overall, I just am not a huge fan of this. The scent is nice. It doesn't smell too strongly of sunscreen, which I do like. But like I said, since it sits weird on my dry patches, I just can't make this work. The next couple of products that I have are by Tarte. The first one is their Lights Camera Lashes Precision Longwear Liner. This is in the shade, I think, black. It's supposed to be black. The problem with this liner is that the product does not disperse well from the tip of it. I did swatch it here, and you can see that it's just kind of streaky. It's not super black. I had a really hard time getting a sharp, precise wing. I actually couldn't get a sharp, precise wing with this liner at all, and that's really the only time that I use liquid liners, when I'm doing a wing. So this is just a pointless product to me, so that's just gonna go back. But I think that's finally all of the products that I'm returning to Sephora. Some people like a lot of these products that I mentioned, and like I said, some of these I know can work for other people. They just don't work for me personally, and there's no reason for me to let them sit around in my collection, wasting space. I would just rather return them and get my money back. Even if I get in-store credit, I can get some more products to test out for you guys, so I'm really excited to get those returned. Just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna go ahead and put the total somewhere on the screen so you can see just how much all of these items cost. I really hope this video was helpful for you guys. If it was, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and I really hope to see you guys in my next video. Love you guys. Bye.